Immediately following the Second World War, the leftists that had comprised had largely comprised the anti-Nazi resistance in Italy came under attack. The population of Italy had seen as heroes the partisans and communists that had attempted to, first of all, rid Italy of its own internal fascistic forces, having grabbed Mussolini on the border with Switzerland before he could possibly escape, and presented he and the body of his mistress to the screaming crowds of Rome, had now suddenly become the enemy. Although they had been the valiant heroes that had essentially forced Hitler to surrender Italy as the soft underbelly of the Axis, are now came under attack of a new enemy. And this enemy had nothing to do with Germany. Immediately after the surrender of Germany in 1945, the United States of America had essentially come into agreement with Victor Emmanuel and some of Mussolini's own undersecretaries that the new government in Rome should essentially be the maintenance of the monarchy, first under Victor Emmanuel II, and also a representative democracy of sorts that left as counselors largely those fascist sympathizers that had been in the government of Mussolini. On the other hand, for the most part, the popularity of the partisans and the popularity of the Communist Party, for the most part, was extremely strong among the people of Italy. And a number of authors, particularly and most interestingly Noam Chomsky, have actually discussed the intervention on the part of the United States government and particularly the Central Intelligence Agency in maintaining very strong rightist political parties that had very little popular standing with the people of then recovering fascist Italy, and their downright infiltration particularly of the socialist parties, the center socialist parties, the partisans and the workers' unions within Italy, and the most potent force of all, of course, being the Communist Party of Italy, the strongest in Western Europe, with the French communists being a distant second, to be honest. Has been revealed under recently declassified information on the part of papers distributed from George Kennan's office and from the National Security Council here in the United States, that it was the intent of the Truman administration to ensure that the partisans of the communists did not find seats in the councils of Rome. Indeed, it's actually been quoted from some recently declassified National Security Council briefs that the United States was more than willing to, in fact, have overt military operations in Italy, that is, to actually invade Italy to ensure that the elections that immediately followed the restoration of Victor Emmanuel and the restoration of a, quote, purportedly non-fascistic government to Italy would go, quote, in the right direction. The Italian communists have actually published a book that is now available in our local Princeton University bookstore that details the infiltration of Central Intelligence Agencies, American Central Intelligence agents, into the partisan and communist parties. Regardless, despite the fact that the United States was willing to intervene, were the communists to secure victory in following elections immediately following VE Day, what actually ended up happening was that center socialist movements, some of the parties that actually broke with the Trotskyites within the Italian Communist Party, formed a center socialist party that ended up carrying the day. The history of these elections, though, is quite up in the air. One does not really know to what extent internal divisions among the trade unionist parties and the communist parties in Italy led to this disaster, essentially, for the far left, and how much the foreign intervention, particularly on the part of the United States, actually played a role in moving the post-fascist Italian government more to the center. But regardless, even as the communist movement in Italy has moved farther from being bright red to more, shall we say, a very bright pink, we can still say that the Communist Party in Italy has still maintained its control. The largely extreme leftist, Stalinist apologists within the Italian Communist Party have fallen away. For the most part, the partisans have been marginalized in the economy, and now those portions of the Unionist Party that had been the organ for partisan political involvement in Rome, in the politics of Rome, have essentially been subsumed under the new Communist Party, which is essentially not connected with the Soviet movement at all, and is really not even has not taken part in any of the more Leninist tendencies of the Italian communists. Instead, they have found their patron saint in Antonio Gramsci, who then was considered probably the best and most creative Marxist of any of the continental philosophers. And Gramsci's ideas with regard to hegemony and with regard to the actual role of the state in determining equality of opportunity, equality of outcome, and even in terms of their ability to minister to the morals and to the culture of the Italian people and maintain that which is distinctive to the Italian people, have come under the much more broad and, shall we say, the much less left Communist Party that now exists, and is responsible for the current downfall of Romani Prodi's olive branch government in Rome, and the ascension of Massimo D'Alema and the socialist communist coalition government that now sits in Rome. One may say that surprisingly, despite extremely strong and even potential military intervention on the part of the more rightist governments, particularly the extreme right-wing governments of the United States, that is, compared to the leftist governments of Italy, despite the very potent and very real possibility of American intervention, the Italian communists have maintained their integrity and maintained their strength, and, shall we say, for the Italian people, have maintained prosperity and maintained happiness to the extent that it is possible.